Yeah, Cuonzo, I just saw something where you had said this morning that Jeremiah's back with the team. You expect him to play tomorrow. Is that right?
Man, Gabe, you're not going to ask how I'm doing first? Man.
Hey, how you doing? I heard Jeremiah's back.
No, yeah, he's back. He's back. Yeah. Yeah, we expect him to play, yeah.
Dave, man.
Cuonzo, when some of these second half trends, does it seem like the team is playing a little too casual with leads, or is it the opposite? They get a little tight. It seems like it should be one or the other.
I think it's more. I think it is a combination of both. And I wouldn't necessarily say casually playing loose, because I think they still have an edge. But I think it's a case of this is for each individual guy is different. This is a shot I would take, but I wouldn't take it in the first half. I wouldn't take it in a critical situation. But I'll take it because this is comfort right now. Or instead of a sprint back when the game is close on defense and transition, kind of a jog, and all of a sudden it leads to a basket and it spirals. So it's just a lot of little things. And we've watched, 5 games, and I won't necessarily give you guys the 5 games now. We were drinking coffee, I would give it to you, but I'm going to make the competition work for those 5 games. But where there's a theme in which stuff happens, and we have to, we've watched film with the guys, they understand it, but the simple thing of it all is just how we got the lead, let's maintain it, and let's finish the game that way. And I think part of it, too, from a staff standpoint, I think maybe a guy here playing a minute too long. Not that he's lacking that, but a minute too long, exhausted, that extra drive when he was healthy and energized. He drove strong. Now he passed up a shot, a pull-up, off-balance shot, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of little things like that I think certainly can be corrected. And probably, fresh legs here and there, I think that'll help.
Blair?
Cuonzo, what did you miss most without Tillman in? I mean, there's some obvious things, but distribution of minutes, what do you think you missed most?
Well, I think the one thing that I've always said about our team, we're as good as any when we have all our parts. I mean, Jeremiah's obviously having his best year in his senior year because he's grown, on and off the court, the wisdom and the understanding, all those things. You're talking about a physical low post presence where really there was I think in the last, maybe before it's last 6, 7, 8 games, we're going inside to, and that was a focal point of what we were doing. So you're getting major production there. So when you don't have that presence to go inside, and again, I'll still say those 2 games I felt like we should have won, Arkansas and Georgia. We didn't do what we needed to do. But when you lose that level of presence and experience, now all of a sudden, a guy that was playing maybe 5 to 7 minutes, or if that, now I'm playing 20-plus minutes. And I think in his loss, I'm hopeful that Kobe, even though Kobe's a starter, but his role changed in both games, and even Parker. Both those guys played major parts, even though we came up short. But I think both those guys grew from those games. So I think down the road, I think that'll help us. But just, man, when you have that level of presence, you're talking about a guy who's an all-league guy, certainly a first-team guy, the way he's playing, to lose that. But not so much as his absence, but losing a family member. So that affects you in the locker room. And again, not to take nothing away from the losing, but this is one of my guys. This is my teammate. This is not a guy that I just heard about something. This is a guy, and plus, his heart. So that affects me as well, because it's my guy. But we still got to go. We try to do to win this game for him. But at the end of the day, you're still playing against an opponent. But I just think when in those critical situations without him, who's getting the ball? I can press up a little more on Drew Smith and X Pinson because you don't have a Tim. So somebody else make a play. I mean, that's what I would do. You lose a key guy. That's just human nature. That's just scouting, reporting, game planning. So now when it gets critical, you're putting some guys in positions that they haven't been in before to make plays. And not that they're doing a poor job, they just hadn't been in them.
Eric?
Cuonzo, when did you come to the decision that Jeremiah wanted to come back, or was that purely on him, and just how are you making sure he's adjusting to being back with the team right after such a serious thing as losing a family member?
Oh, that's solely him. Again, you're talking sport and you're talking family. That takes precedent over anything we're doing here, and that's his time. It's not that. I just happen to be the figurehead in the program as a head coach, but it's not my decision. That's a family decision, and you proceed how you see best fit. Period. And I'm here to assist any way you need.
Colin?
Cuonzo, you mentioned substitution patterns in minutes a minute ago. I was just curious. It looks like, at least in the first half, you're going to the bench maybe a little sooner and maybe a little deeper than you had earlier in the season? Is that just the wear and tear of a season on guys, or are you trying to combat some of that stuff maybe before it happens?
Combination of both. I think, giving some guys, because we have a couple of guys, and then you have some of, guys a little banged up, not banged up from the standpoint of can't play, but trying to get those guys minutes to be rested, down the stretch of games and that sort of thing. But also, some ways the guys that are coming off the bench in the first half, they've earned that. So you try to give them opportunities, especially see how they're going early. So a combination of all those things.
Jack.
Cuonzo, they say it's hard to beat a team twice. So what have you seen from the South Carolina team since the last time you guys played them?
I watched, of course, watching film on them, but I watched the game Tennessee, and I watched our game, and I watched two other games that they've played. It's been a tough season for them, not because of their personnel. Of course, they have great personnel, but when you're dealing with COVID, when your head coach is your leaders dealing with it, then you have key guys out against Tennessee. That is hard. It's like, and I'm joking, but I'm serious. It's like being on a screaming eagle. Ups and downs and highs and lows. I mean, that's a tough ride. You got to have a strong stomach to deal with that. And obviously, Frank is as tough as any, so they'll navigate through it. And he's one of the guys. He's not making excuses. He won't complain about it. But when you have that level of talent and team, but if you don't have all your parts, think about it, we just had one guy out. And we're a different team. Imagine you got 2 or 3 key guys out. You're dealing with COVID. You can't practice at the level you practice. And I'm not sure how much you guys know behind the scenes when you have COVID situations. You can only practice one guy at a time. So it's not a team. It's not like you're still practicing as a team. It's more or less individual workouts. And all of a sudden, okay, game time, let's come together and make it work. That is a hard thing to do, especially when you deal with the stresses of each individual guy. If he's dealt with it personally, if somebody at home dealt with it, yeah, I feel for Frank because I value Frank's friendship, and then he's one of the most likable guys in our game, man. So you want to see his team obviously be successful. You want to beat them, but you want to see them be successful.
Andrew.
Hey, Coach. The NCAA came out today and said they're going to allow 25% capacity at the upcoming tournament. What do you think fans add to that NCAA tournament atmosphere?
I just think energy. I think you always talk about energy. Hopefully they're your fans, so that's the most important thing to me. I'm not really concerned with anybody else's fans, but I just think energy, man, is passion because, again, you dream of opportunities to play in the NCAA tournament. And we've had one guy, I think Jeremiah's the only guy on the team that's played in the NCAA tournament. That's a big deal, man. Those are memories, and our guys have put themselves in a position to be a part of that. So, and just really finishing your job. But fans are always good, especially when they're your family members. I don't know the capacity, how many family members, that sort of thing. But when you have fans, I think that's a good thing because, again, you don't always get these opportunities.
Okay.
Was Kobe's game at Georgia more a product of necessity and you guys kind of changing the game plan, or is that something you think you can get out of him going forward?
Well, I think that's certainly something we saw when we recruited him. And I think with Kobe, different player, but similar in a lot of ways to Jeremiah. Those guys continue to get better with age and experience and just understanding, because Kobe's a guy, he's going to try to do everything you ask him as a player, whatever you want done as a player. He's that type of guy. He's a coachable guy. He want to be good, whatever it takes to win games, all those things. And I just think for him, it's just to be able to play off his instincts, because with his size, his ability to get to the rim, scoring it around, he's really improved scoring it around the rim, using his strength, because he's always been a guy that can face up and make plays. But I think adding all those things and also shooting his timely 3-point shots is just another dimension for our team.
Dave.
Cuonzo, with next Saturday being the final home game on the schedule as of now, you might reschedule Vanderbilt or LSU, but is there any kind of internal celebration like, wow, we actually still got to this point, reaching our full schedule at home or anything like that?
Well, we talk about it all the time as a staff. We don't necessarily as our players. I'm just proud of our players from the standpoint of simply talking about the sport, to be able to do the things off the court, to put yourselves in position to get to the games, and not putting just yourself but your team in harm's way, and putting yourself in compromising situations. I think they've done a good job with that. But I don't, not necessarily, because, again, as we celebrate, somebody else is not celebrating that, because they've lack of games. And so we're grateful to be able to play games and to hopefully bring joy to some of our fans and family members, and just try to get to the next one.
Dave Matter.
Cuonzo, there have been times when you take out X and put Bugs in. Very different players, obviously, but he's been able to kind of stabilize things. What's the trade-off when you go to one to the other?
Oh, good question. Bugs is a natural facilitator, and that's what he brings to the table. He's looking for guys. X is more of a scoring guy. X is more built to score. So X, even though X stature says point guard, X is more of a combo guard. He's more of a guy that scores up off, make plays, or pass when there's an opportunity to pass. And I think Bugs is a natural with what you would consider for old school guys like myself. You would say John Stockton, those type guys. They're just setting these guys up the whole night. That's the difference.
Chase.
AJ Lawson for South Carolina's led them in scoring the past 6 games. What have you seen from him, and then how do you think about stopping him?
Well, you certainly have to make his looks tough because he's one of the few guys on the league that can catch and shoot where he stands and gets up on his shot. I mean, he doesn't have to take a step. As soon as he catch it, boom, he's off the ground. He has a great release. He has 6'6", he's long. He get it over the top. So with him, you have to do a great job of really trying to limit his catches, because when he catch it, he's a threat, because and he straight line drives you hard. He's an athlete around the rim, so he can dunk the ball on you and make plays there. But you just want to try to limit his touches as much as possible, which is easier said than done, because they do a lot of things to try to get him the ball. You got to try to stop him in transition early. And you have to make other guys beat you, because you allow him to get going, it'll certainly be a long night for you.
Colin.
Hey, Cuonzo, you told us before either Mississippi or Georgia that you wanted this team to do a better job of keeping teams out of the paint. How do you feel like they've been doing the past couple of games, and how much do you feel like not having Jeremiah kind of impacted the defensive structure of this team?
Well, having Jeremiah, it impact more from the standpoint of a guy that's been a part of your program. You're counting that production. We're great defensive when we set in the half court. Where we get in trouble was a quick shot, live ball, turnover, and then you're scrambling and set your defense. But when our defense is set, we're as good as anybody, and the numbers say that. But we can't allow live ball turnovers or quick shot, off balance shot lead to transition basket, and that's when things start to open up for us.
All right.